Shadows, the horror movie heroes, by Clouds. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 37, Survivors. The three remaining heroes showed up to the agency expecting a fight, which made it all the more disconcerting when the halls were completely empty. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridors, and Mirio forced himself to ignore the occasional hero token lying in the halls. Despite how Izuku first appeared, the shadows were quick and efficient. There was no evidence of any struggle. In fact, it looked like every single kill was more of an execution than a fight. He was the last to get back to the control room where they had agreed to meet after searching the agency. Mirio looked around the almost empty room. The air was heavy with suppressed grief and anger. Amajiki was in the corner, head pressed firmly against the wall. I was right to be paranoid. This is awful. Mirio forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Come on, it's not over yet. We still have the objectives, right? Actually, Tamaki sounded more nervous than usual. The storage room is empty. Counting the real snitch who they killed and the bombs they used, it seems like the only one they're missing is stealing a specific car. Mirio forced his smile a little wider. Then we'll just have to beat them to it. As if we could, Ogawa snorted. It would take serious divine intervention to... He was interrupted by the ping of an incoming message. Mirio's grin turned genuine when he saw the sender. We might have just that. It's from Nedzu. Hello, students. Well, this has been interesting, hasn't it? I have been quite enjoying the chaos, but as much fun as it is only fair for us to level the playing field. After all, why should the fun end already? There are actually 3 vehicles the villains can choose from for the stolen car objective. One is on the street in the fashion district, another in a parking garage in the residential district, and the last is in a warehouse in the industrial sector. I have attached the exact locations in this message, but you'll have to figure out which they plan to target. Toodaloo! Nedzu, principal of UA High. A groan rose up from the teachers as they watched the students preparing to run off to follow Nedzu's message without noticing the small typo in the sending address. The real Nedzu calmly sipped his tea. In their defense, that is something I would do. But from their perspective, didn't you tell them to trust the snitch? Mike said dramatically. They gotta remember that, don't they? Technically, he didn't tell them to trust the snitch, Ectoplasm pointed out. He only implied it. Which is also something I would do, Nedzu added cheerfully. Mara shot him a tired glare. The fact that these kids can accurately imitate your twisted mind isn't exactly comforting. No, but it will probably make the kids feel a little better when this is all over. Aizawa said, they may have made a big mistake, but at least it was an understandable one. Not necessarily, Snipe shook his head. The mind of a young'un ain't always logical that way. Hey, there's still a chance they could pull this off, 13 said. Maybe. The room was silent for a long moment before Mike spoke up. So, does anyone want to make bets about what traps they're walking into? Mirio had tried to go off on his own, just like Ogawa had, but Amajiki had clung to his side and refused to let go. Sure, Mirio could have phased through him and run off, but that would be rude to his best friend, and it wasn't the worst idea to have some backup. This training had been full of surprises on every side, and Mirio, for one, was sick of being caught on the wrong foot. It was time to take things slowly and carefully, which was why they hadn't even left the base yet. Mirio swung his feet as he sat on the kitchen counter. Amajiki was going through the food stash and eating anything he thought might be useful to manifest when they confronted the shadows. Mirio swung his legs a little faster. They should be out there, keeping shadows from winning, but he sighed and forced his legs to still. It would be idiotic to go in unprepared, and Nejire had already paid the price for Mirio not listening to Amajiki once. Amajiki swallowed a bit of lobster and stilled. Hey, you okay, man? Mirio made to stand. What's up? Amajiki looked at him with panic in his eyes for a split second before he threw up all over the floor. Shit! Mirio jumped off the counter and flung open every cupboard until he found a big enough bowl. Amajiki grabbed it gratefully and kept throwing up. Mirio didn't know what to do to help. He could go get some anti-nausea medication, but considering that the shadows had obviously poisoned something that Amajiki just ate, he didn't want something like that staying in his system. In the end, he just ended up getting a glass of cool water ready for when the vomiting stopped. It took about 10 minutes. By the end of it, Amajiki was dry heaving, his stomach completely empty of anything to manifest. Mirio, Amajiki's voice was shaking. I want to go home. Mirio just nodded. It's almost over. We just need to hold out a little longer. I don't have anything left for my quirk to use. Amajiki still looked a little green. I'm gonna die. No, you won't. Mirio said firmly, I'll protect you. Amajiki gave him a shaking smile. Thanks, but I don't know if you'll be able to. The shadows always seem to know where to hit us. They knew I'd head straight to the kitchen, and even if I could hold anything down right now, I don't know what else could be poisoned. Let's regroup with Ogawa, Mirio suggested. It'll be safer to stay together. He opened the comm line and called for the only other hero left. No answer. Mirio tried again. Then a third time. Either Ogawa was completely ignoring them, or shadows got him. Amajiki said gravely, they must have. Mirio hated that he agreed. Then we'll just have to clear the locations that Nedzu sent us ourselves. He forced a smile as big as All Might's. The game isn't over yet. They started with the fashion district. Of the three Nedzu had sent them, that seemed like the most likely one that Ogawa had gone to. Tamaki had insisted on bringing the grasshopper villains in a little insect carrier at his side, since neither of them trusted the shadows to stay away from the agency, and they couldn't just leave the villains as fish in a barrel. Sadly, Mirio and Tamaki weren't all that surprised to find Ogawa's token on the ground, but they were surprised to find the potential objective still parked on the side of the street. Why go through all the trouble of killing a hero and then not take the objective? Amajiki was silent for a long moment. Because they already stole another objective instead. Mirio cursed and shot off like a rocket, Amajiki hot on his heels, as they headed toward the second location. The industrial location was the closest. It didn't take them long at all to find the correct warehouse, and Mirio mentally patted himself on the back at how well they were navigating the fake city. It's gonna be a trap, Amajiki muttered miserably. Mirio opened his mouth to tell Amajiki to keep his chin up and think positive, but then he remembered just how many traps they'd managed to walk into already. He shut his mouth and nodded. So, what do you want to do? I can go first. I'll turn intangible if anything happens, and you can rush in and save me. The villains probably don't know for sure if you ate the poison, so with any luck, maybe they'll scatter before we have to fight them, and we can pick them off one by one. Now was the time to think positive. Amajiki waited a half second, then took a deep breath. Okay. Mirio smiled and strode through the door. Izuku smiled as the door opened, prompting the rigged firearms to go off and cover poor Tamaki Amajiki in paint. According to their analysis, when the heroes split up, Amajiki always chose the most secluded locations, and since giving the heroes 3 locations had forced them to split up, It only made sense that Amajiki would end up choosing the industrial district, just like it had made sense that Ogawa had chosen the fashion district. It may have taken a little longer than he'd anticipated for Amajiki to arrive, but these heroes were so predictable that Izuku had been able to rig personalized traps for everyone except Mirio, who would obviously go to the residential district where there were the most people to save. His intangibility meant that physical traps wouldn't work on him, but that was why Hitoshi was waiting for him. The smoke cleared and Izuku's heart sank as he saw all the paint on the ground and none on the hero in front of him. The wrong hero. Hey, Hitoshi, Mirio's not going to be arriving at your location. What? Why? Izuku gulped. Because he's at mine. End of chapter.